As you can see, with me now is the Work and Pensions Secretary Mel Stride, who's just rushed in to see us. So good to have you here this morning. Yeah. I want to ask you about Donald Trump, first of all, because we did get the news overnight that he has become the first former or serving US president to be convicted of a crime. Should he be voted as president again in November? Is this a man you're still happy to do business with?
OK. So I think as a government cabinet minister, it's a long-held convention that we don't interfere in elections overseas, and so I really can't comment on that particular question. In the same way, we wouldn't expect, American politicians to start throwing comments in about our general election and who should be supported, etc. So I can't say that. They are clearly dramatic, a very dramatic turn of events, and let's wait to see what happens. But ultimately, the choice will be for the American people on July the 4th.
Absolutely. So
November. Not July the 4th is for us, isn't it?
That's ours, yes, theirs is November. But
yeah.
Putting aside the election aspect to it, what do you make of that news? I mean, it is extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, it is. I don't think it's unprecedented, actually. I think about a century ago, there was a communist who stood for the presidency of the United States who did so from a jail cell, I believe. It wasn't terribly successful back in that time. But, yeah, I mean, these are virtually unprecedented moments and extraordinarily dramatic. But it is a matter, ultimately, for the American people in their election in November.
OK, let's talk about politics closer to home. Mark Logan, the Bolton North East MP, yet another Tory MP who's decided to defect from the party to Labour. It's not a good look, is it, when even your own MPs don't want to vote for you in the middle of an election campaign? Well,
it's disappointing, and Mark will have his own reasons as to why he's decided to do that. I did notice in the letter that he wrote at the time he made that announcement, that there wasn't a mention of a single policy or idea that Labour had that had attracted him.
He did say, though, that the Tory party was very different from the one he joined a decade ago.
The point that I'm making, Anna, is I think that what this kind of tells you is something fundamental about the choice at this election, which is that you've got ourselves, having been in government, having now turned the economy around, got inflation right down, getting real wages growing, having the fastest growth, equal fastest in the G7 in the last quarter. We are going in the right direction. And a Labour Party, frankly, which has no ideas, has no plan, and is going to take us right back to square one. And those are the big issues that are actually in play.
Well, then why do your own MPs
election.
not want to stick with you if it's all going so well? 5 defections in recent weeks, and just in this week, you've lost one to Labour and one to Reform. Are you worried there are going to be more?
Well, as I say, I'm disappointed, and of course we're disappointed when those things happen. But the big picture here, and there's a lot at stake here, over and above what Mark Logan may or may not decide to have done, is the future of our country. And as I say, we are at an inflection point now. We're at a turning point for our country. We've come through real trials that everybody's gone through around COVID. The economy shrank by 10% overnight. We had to protect the economy during that period, protecting millions of jobs. Rishi Sunak as Chancellor, protecting them through furlough, bringing inflation down. We've done that. We've got the opportunity now to move forward. We started cutting taxes. As the Pensions Secretary, I was able to announce very recently the Triple Lot Plus, making sure that we keep millions of pensioners out of tax, those that have the state pension, and saving hundreds of pounds going forward for other state pension holders. Labour have dismissed that entirely, which means that millions of pensioners under a Labour government, this is an important point, millions of pensioners under a Labour government are going to get dragged into income tax, effectively a tax on retirement. And I'm now concerned that they're going for workplace pensions as well, which we might want to talk about. So,
OK, but just on that point, it was the Conservatives who froze the tax thresholds in the first place. Your proposals are merely undoing something that you introduced.
So what we're doing, these are real tax cuts, because if you look at where the tax system is now...
But you're just undoing something that you brought in.
All taxes move around in different ways over many years. I mean, that's a simple statement of fact, but the reality is you start from where you are and you have to decide where you're going to go to, and where we're going to is lower taxes. Now, we've also done that with national insurance for 29 million working people. So an average cut, by slashing national insurance by a third, we're saving £900 for an average earner in this country. So the direction of travel under this party is for taxes to be coming down. Under Labour, if you take pensioners, for example, they are going to be dragging millions of pensioners into paying income tax. And we don't think that's right.
Your changes only happen in 2028, don't they? Are you dragging millions of people into that income tax bracket, that higher bracket?
What is happening is what Labour are saying is that they will keep the personal allowance, which is the amount you can earn by way of income without paying income tax, they will keep that where it is, or just uprate it by the current metric. We are saying we'll go further than that, make sure that that personal allowance goes up as from next April. So if we are re-elected, we will make sure that those pensioners are kept out of income tax. Where the 2027-8 year comes in, that is the point at which, under Labour's plans, millions of pensioners will start paying income tax, who are not paying income tax at the moment.
OK, you wanted to talk about workplace pensions. What's your concern there?
Well, the concern is that Labour have a £38.5 billion unfunded spending commitment. Now, that is something...
They dispute those
figures. They do, but this is an official Treasury analysis. It's robust, OK? So we've taken a very conservative view of firm commitments that they have made and we expect to see in their manifesto, and they have been looked at as part of an official analysis, Treasury analysis. Now, that kind of amount of money, given that Labour have ruled out increasing national insurance income tax, and because of the pressure we put on quite recently through our press department, they've now finally ruled out VAT increases, and they've ruled out increases to corporation tax. They are the four biggest tax revenue raisers in the UK. The question becomes, where are they going to find this £38.5 billion? Where Gordon Brown found that kind of money, and where Rachel Reeves in her paper, which I believe is probably still on her website now, would be to raid workplace pensions.
Well, hang on. This paper that you're talking about is from 2018. Is that right?
Yes,
That's before the last election. This isn't Labour policy, is it?
It's in the run-up to the election. It wasn't late.
The last election.
But Anna, the raid on pensions that Gordon Brown carried out cost the UK pension sector £118 billion. We ended up with Now, that wasn't in their manifesto then. This is a
pamphlet that predates the last election, and it's not current Labour policy,
Gordon Brown is referred to by Rachel Reeves as his mentor. What Gordon Brown did was he went into that election not being straight about what his plans were around pensions. He had a large amount of money he knew he had to raise. We know Labour have that as well. We have a pamphlet on Rachel Reeves' website making it very clear that this is a way of raising £20 billion.
It's nearly 10 years old.
It's promoted on the website, in that paper. And as I say, when Gordon Brown went into that election, he kept it very quiet as to what he was going to do. We ended up with the fourth highest level of pensioner poverty in Europe as a consequence of what happened then. And I don't want that to happen now. So if you're thinking there's going to be a Labour government coming up, the message should be start saving now because you're going to pay for it.
OK, Mel Stride, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much.